Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm gonna talk a little bit about what is Active Directory. So, a lot of you heard the term Active Directory or Microsoft Active Directory, but they don't know what is the Active Directory. So Active Directory is, as the name implies, it's active and it's directory. So directory is like a phone book, okay? Phone book that holds information, right? So why we need the Active Directory in an enterprise environment, for example, with a company. So Active Directory is used as to gather all the information, okay? And to centralize the management from a single or multiple servers. So what are the information that the company needs to take care of? For example, resources like printers, shared files that users need access to, and so on. Group policies, for example, managing users. Imagine that you are working with a company that has, for example, thousands of users. So you need to manage those users. You need to give them access, to resources like files, printers, as I mentioned earlier, and so on. So what we are going to learn from this course, regarding Active Directory. We will be able to define what is Active Directory as I'm describing right now. We also will be able to describe the basic functions. What are the functions of Active Directory? And also we will be able, after finishing this course, we will be able to describe the tools needed to use and manage Active Directory. So how does it know who you are? When I mentioned the users, they need access and so on. So Active Directory is used securely. It's more secure, because it uses secure protocols and it uses authentication, So authentication is the process to verify that you are who say you are, based on a username and a password that are stored in a directory. And when you need the access, you need to provide those credentials, the login, the username, and the password. So as I mentioned earlier, consider an Active Directory like a phone book. A phone book holds a lot of information, for example, computers of the company, all the client computers of the company, the servers, the printers, shared files, shared resources, and so on. So Active Directory is both control and access, control and access. So imagine that you are working with a company with thousands of users and you want to actually take control of every single computer that exists, on the company. Every printer, every shared files and folder. The Active Directory allows you to do that, so you can control and centralize and centrally manage all those resources. The access, it gives access based on authentication. So the access actually to authorized users and deny certain users from accessing files that are not allowed to access. This is actually a history about the Active Directory. So built on Microsoft Exchange Directory platform, first introduced for Windows NT 4. So first introduced on Windows Server 2000, and then Windows Server 2003, 2008, and so on. Now we have Windows Server 2019 that we're going to be using through this entire course. Compatible with LDAP lightweight directory access protocol. The LDAP is the protocol that, okay, make the Active Directory more secure. Okay, it's built like a channel, okay, for the communication between either the server and the client, or the server to a server for replication, and so on. Typical Active Directory client-server communication. So as you can see here, we have a server, and server normally called DC, domain controller, that controls all, okay, the other resources and the workstations, or the client. So the workstation is called a client. So as you can see, the server, okay, or the client, okay, receive users, files, commands, programs to be installed. So the server actually controls the workstation. So you could install software, okay, from the server on multiple workstations. For example, let's say you want to install, let's say, okay, for simplicity, you want to install Notepad for the users, or you want to install a program like VMware, okay, or some, let's say you have financing group that's depend on Navision. So you want to install all the computers with Navision. You're not going to go and sit near each computer and install the Navision. Instead, you are going to go to the server and install, okay, Navision on all the clients at one time. Okay, this is software deployment. We could do that also via group policy, and that's the power of Active Directory. Regarding the user workstation to the server communication, the user workstation send username and passwords to be checked, okay, against the database, okay, where the credentials are stored. So when the client, okay, user sitting here, okay, under this client, let me grab a Epic pen here. There we go. And where is my pen? So let's do Epic pen here. Right here. Cool. I'm gonna use a black color here. I'm gonna use this one is fine. So basically, let's say a user, let's see, user here. Let's say a user that is sitting here, okay, using his workstation. So when this user tries to log in, the workstation actually sends, okay, the login credential to the server. The server checks the directory or the database, okay, against those credentials. If the credential does exist, okay, the server will send back, okay, give this user access. Probably another user that is trying to access the server, not authorized user, is trying to access the server, so the user will send, okay, the credentials. User try to log into this workstation here. The server checks the directory and it will send a deny, okay, you are not, okay, allowed to access, okay, this workstation. Okay, that's the communication between the server and the workstation. Let me delete this gibberish here. So I hope at this point you at least get an idea, but we're going to talk a little bit more about Active Directory. So Active Directory is a client-server, okay, network technology. So we have a server and the client. The server normally it's an operating system running Windows, Microsoft Windows Server, okay, either version 19, 16 or whatever, and then the client either Windows 8, Windows 10, and so on. Active Directory can be big and complicated, okay, so it needs some planning. It needs some planning, and everything should be in place. We're going to talk about planning later on in this course. Active Directory is best used in location that need management. It's not solution for everyone. Okay, so Active Directory is used in enterprise environments, in medium-sized companies, and so on, like Microsoft, Cisco, and so on. So Active Directory is included with Windows Server Product License. You can install it on Windows 2000 Standard or Data Center Edition, current versions, and so on. So we have a couple of versions, as I mentioned. So we have 2000, 2003, 2008, 2012, 2016, and finally the final version and recent version is 2019. Resources to get started. So Microsoft provides training courses for Active Directory administration, okay, and that's what we're going to be learning, how to administer Windows Server 2019. So there are lots of information provided by Microsoft. You could visit those links if you want to. Connecting computers. So Active Directory, it connects, all the computers together. So there is a concept called domain. So domain, for example, let's say Microsoft.com is a domain. We can install a Microsoft Windows Server to control all those clients and connect them at the same time, okay? Type of Active Directory objects. So those resources that I mentioned earlier are called objects. For example, users or user accounts. So there are user accounts. For example, Bob has a password, has an office, has other profile, other criteria. We have also groups. So for example, in Active Directory, it's recommended to group, the users into groups. Even a group of one, it's better than individual users, because when you are applying group policies, you are applying them to a group of people instead of applying them to a single user. Organizational units. Organizational units is a concept or an object that actually can gather computers together. Okay, so you create an organizational unit or OU that have all the client computers in the company. Another organizational unit, for example, that could have locations. Let's say the company spread across the world. So for example, you could have organizational units called the UK, and then another organizational unit in the United States called the US, for example. And under the organizational units, you could nest other organizational units. For example, the computers of US, the computers of United Kingdom, and so on. Computers are the clients, and the clients that's within the company, the clients or the computers used by employees within the company. So as you can see here, this is the Active Directory. As you can see, Active Directory users and computers. So this is basically the fundamental or the building block of the Active Directory. So as you can see, we have those are the objects. We have users, we have servers, we have domain controllers. Domain controller is a server that is running Active Directory. We have we have lots of objects, as you can see. And if we click users, as you can see, we have all the users. Some users are built-in users by Microsoft, and some of them you could actually configure them or add them to the user. But normally you create your own OU, and then you create those users, and then you create groups, you add the users to the groups, and so on and so forth. So organizational units divide in functional sections. So organizational units, you could actually use them for grouping locations, for example, as I mentioned. You could use them for grouping type of computers. You could use them for users. You could use them for offices, for example, for sites, and so on. So it's a concept that's actually to divide a functional section either by geographical location or by function, what they're doing, like IT group, financial group, engineering group, and so on. So when you are applying or you are allowing access to some resources, you give them, okay, access to the entire group instead of the individual user. Tools used, okay, the tools used, MMC, Microsoft Management Console. This is actually a console or flexible that contains flexible console that contains many modules for managing Active Directory. Okay, this is the main window that allows you to manage Active Directory. RSAT, Remote Management Tools, okay, that allows administrators to install, okay, the MMC components of the server onto their workstations for remote management. Okay, this is actually for the remote management. So that's probably enough. I hope you get the big picture of what is Active Directory. So we define Active Directory as a phone book of the company that gather all the information. Okay, it gives control. It gives you control. Okay, and access. So it gather all the information, like for example user accounts. It gather information of the computers. It allows the computers to communicate with the server and with the other clients. It allows the users to use their clients to access resources like shared printers, shared files, folders, and so on and so forth. I hope this has been informative for you guys, and I would like to thank you.